as much as everyone today are very much willing to speak with any sense of regularity at the point of election, for them election is like God level of correctness. I have to notice that's the latest fashion, the latest culture in which we are. In order that you be legally 100% correct, you will need to be elected. It's not being questioned by whom and by what kind of protocol. Just the word itself, elected, it's more like God level. That is when you are saying God and you don't need to ask anything more. That is how they are using today the word elected. That's where, when they say something like that, you're not supposed to question anything further. Despite the fact that we have spent entire decade discussing how far elections actually in recent history are completely manipulated 100%, especially after implementing the technology today, elections anymore don't even exist as real events. Unless, of course, someone would prefer to continue to hold us as a shipyard, as what it is for them, citizenship. Of course, we need to define also who would be them in this case scenario. But that is where is the weight of the word election. That is election versus citizenship. That's what they're talking about. So I'm talking about wolves rather, because I'm much more fairer here, because you know what I'm saying, if we have sheep, then we also need to talk about wolves rather than election, but then you get without a wolf. And then it's not good enough. So, Artians, you have your question for today. Answer. Do you need wolf or you need elected schmuck? Artians, answer the question, please. And if Mongolians by any chance are looking for a position in White House, we are willing to consider the application. Mongolians! Salah! I'm going to find Radha Rome again as Empress, and then I play Tribunal. Well, to me, it's easier that way. And also, I don't need to play 2 millenniums again, and again, and again. And you Serbs, on your knees to your queen. Serbs, never again march first on the stage that yours is not on personal levels. You don't walk on personal levels. Serbs, the basics. Serbs, these are basics. Serbs, on your knees. I'm not going to play your tail mark. You're going to play our headquarter. Serbs, salute. Macedonians are obviously playing mercenary of lost children. Donald Trump, it is time Macedonia, or children of Macedonia, to find their place in history again. And New York and Donald Trump cannot be on their ways. Macedonia will need to find its place today in this entire saga as younger child. We already talked about this. So Donald Trump cannot take over the situation in control or to manage it even, because he's in category of playing certainly the role of younger child. Not that much was in closing of game even as older one. So let's do not get too much into theater before we identify the temple properties on in best possible terms. And then if we qualify to bring the story forward, then we bring the story forward. I don't need today someone to bring me on my own stage. It is rather offensive. Today, the ones that is going to by all of the rules of the rules the cherry picking from the grounds is going to happen from the higher place, then it is the horizontal performance to which today you belong, with your outdated media as well, an outdated history, or should I just call it latest translation of history. Macedonia has not managed today to convince us that can bring that much of a vertical point rather than horizontal, as what Masonry certainly has become. The horizontal dancing of privileged society and top level of establishment, selfishly restricting their older brothers from the same privileges. As much as we managed somehow to bring the conversation discussing some kind of equilibrium within that story or that history, high story. Let's don't lose the perspective so soon. You still need to talk about your mother. As I certainly here reached the vertical point of planetary consciousness, have already become somehow some kind of civilizational barometer. I have been talking about reaching of highest point in any development of anything, and have been talking for quite some time about where that higher point happens usually, where has been accomplished solidly enough, and from where you cannot surrender what has been accomplished, but rather expect everyone else to get there. About the amount of mercy implemented, then if we are going to talk about that, will depend on the times in which we live, of course. The promises are bigger or higher today, but also the expectations. That goes together, and it will never, ever, that correlation be any different. Expectations will need to be justified, will need to be justifiable. Space promised will need to be justified. That is exactly where we are today. Like it or not. And your voice should be earned. You need to earn your points. Or don't waste our attention into nothingness.